I don't get this. You know, we were supposed to have somebody on talking, somebody else from the new medical marijuana dispensary
in Bethel
to talk about, and here we are. The three of us were, none of whom smoke marijuana. Promise, none of us who smoke marijuana, and we promised that. We're here chowing down on these donuts, and we all got the munchies.
Right.
Even though we don't smoke marijuana.
But we all know people that do.
What was your name again?
Diana.
Okay. So we're going to... So here we are. Three people. Did I say that already?
Yes, and you're David Stevenson.
Okay, I'm David Stevenson. Emily Volpintesta, my co-host. And Diana
Frank.
Diana Frank, okay, from Ridgefield,
yes.
from the Comcast area.
Yes.
And we're just going to talk about medical marijuana because we all have opinions about it. Obviously, there's, and I, myself personally, even though I don't smoke marijuana, I can see some medicinal benefit in it, and I'll leave you to talk now.
Wait, we should mention the fact that they just opened the first medical marijuana dispensary in Connecticut. Is it in the country?
No, it's not. It's not the first.
Fairfield County?
I think there are. Yeah, that might be the first in Fairfield County, but I think there are 7 that are opening up in Connecticut.
Right.
Now that marijuana is to some degree decriminalized, and there is apparently. They're waking up to the fact that there is some medicinal benefit to marijuana.
And it's creating this uproar in the town, and what would you like to say
Well, I mean,
about
my
that?
thing is, who can get the marijuana? Because I was reading online, and they said that only people with, ID cards or that are registered through the state, I don't know exactly what, but they have to have a registered illness that's specific to medical marijuana in order to get marijuana. So it's not like anyone can get it, only specific people can get it, but people are just so up in arms about it just because they're afraid of it.
And we're flying blind to some degree, the three of us, because we don't have our scheduled guest on who is associated with the new medical marijuana dispensary. But I think based on what I checked into this, there are a very limited number of things that you can get a doctor's prescription. It has to be a doctor's prescription for a very limited number of illnesses. Cancer.
Yeah.
We know that medical marijuana helps people. Apparently, it helps us, get hungry and get hungrier than we were. But when you're under chemotherapy treatment for cancer, your appetite goes way down, and you need a little something to help boost your appetite back up.
Yeah.
So cancer, I think migraines, severe migraines qualifies.
Glaucoma.
Glaucoma. It's always been considered a very good, and many people over the years have used marijuana. And so there is some case study to show things that are benefited by marijuana, including, of course, the aforementioned cancer symptoms and lack of appetite, glaucoma, which is beneficial to alleviate the symptoms of, and
post-traumatic stress
disorder, which of course is not only a military-based thing, but who's ever had serious trauma in their life can basically suffer some of the same type of symptoms.
But that's dangerous though, because then people can just claim that they have post-traumatic stress disorder, and then then they can just get marijuana whenever they want.
That's a good point, but I think they've got that covered. I think you really, in fact, need to have a You're not just going to get a prescription because you say to the doctor. It's not going to be like a sick leave slip from work where you say, "Hey doc, I wasn't feeling good yesterday. Could you write me a note?
Yeah.
Hey mom, I don't feel like going to school today. Could you write me a note?" It's not going to be quite that simple.
You'll need an evaluation, maybe.
Yeah. It's going to be.
Is it going to be the same kind of evaluation for Schedule 1 narcotics for like Adderall and all that stuff, or because that seems pretty easy to get?
That's a good question, and I think we'll have to look at. Our audience can also certainly feel free to help us out and find some of these answers too, and. We'll have you on the show too.
No,
we're sort of flying blind a little bit, but I think we all are intelligent individuals who have some thoughts about this issue. So here we are. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that I've talked to people in the community, and they say, "Oh, well, why don't they just sell marijuana at CVS and in the pharmacy? Why have a separate facility where this dispensary?" And before we were talking, you said it would be dangerous.
Well, I mean, it might be because. You've got people that want marijuana, and then they all of a sudden realize that, I can go to CVS and get it. Then, what if they start hanging around hoping that they can get it, like, an ATM? You know how it's dangerous sometimes to be alone and stuff like that? I don't know. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
That's a lot of the concern that people that lived in the neighborhood of the dispensary in Bethel. They're concerned, and perhaps with reason, perhaps they're being a bit too fearful. I don't know.
Right.
But that you might have crime outside there, that you might have people coming out with their prescription and be robbed.
Right.
If they're only allowed to pay for it with cash, which I think is probably accurate.
Okay.
Then you have people going in there that have at least a small amount of cash, $20, $30, $40.
Right.
But they could be prey to people that would rob them. So there's some concern that seems partially justified. But on the other hand, people that I've talked to that live in that neighborhood, they're not opposed to the use of medical marijuana. It's not that they're against it. They're just fearful of it being close to where they live. Because in Bethel, like most places, you've got commercial zones proximate to residential zones.
Okay.
So
what other kinds of, Diana, concerns do you foresee?
So like when you say commercial zone, so only businesses are there?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, because, when you were saying it was dangerous before, I'm thinking, well, people who smoke marijuana, you don't think of them as being violent people. But I can understand now what you're saying about, someone wants the marijuana from the people getting it, then they might, mug them or, steal it from them. But I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that goes on.
Or they might feel uncomfortable because, they're next to someone that has to have marijuana. And there's a whole lot of stigma attached to marijuana in general, so you never know why people are upset. I mean, people are upset about mostly anything you can possibly imagine.
Yeah,
so.
True, you can be afraid of anything, I guess. You're right about that. But people that are, I'm not so sure, because I do know some people that smoke marijuana recreationally, and I don't stay in the room when they're doing it if they happen to be friends of mine, because I had asthma when I was a kid, and I don't want to have anything going into my lungs. Thank you very much.
Right.
But I don't see that kind of need, that kind of addictive kind of need in people that smoke marijuana. That you hear more about people that are addicted to other substances, including prescription drugs.
Right, exactly.
So our good friend Rush Limbaugh, not our good friend, but I'll call him our good friend anyway. Rush Limbaugh at one point was getting, what's the drug he was getting? Well, he was getting some drug by prescription from like 80 different doctors.
Probably pain medicine. So some sort of pain.
Yeah, it was something, one of those Adols, Adols.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, and he was illegally getting, okay.
Oh, oxycodone.
Oh, OxyContin. Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Oxycontin.
Thank you, Roberto, our producer. Thank you.
Thank you. It is highly, highly addictive.
OxyContin. He was getting OxyContin. He was getting prescriptions from 40, 50, 60 different doctors.
Right.
Because apparently you can become very addicted to that and use an awful lot of it. Mm-hmm. And it's highly addictive. Mm-hmm. But those prescription drugs that are highly addictive, I don't see that in marijuana personally.
No, it's true, and I think like that was a big joke when this whole thing was going on about the people being in an uproar
Except for
and
the
not
Munchies.
wanting the medical facility. They're saying,
Have a
well,
donut. Have a donut.
Look
It's got,
at even
it's
like
got nothing in it. We swear, it's got
Well,
nothing in it.
No fat.
not
Nothing.
like hash brownies, but
They're not hash brownies. No.
but what was I saying? I was saying that.
Oh God, there's one of the symptoms right there.
Okay. Anyway, never mind.
So go ahead. You,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Jump right in.
Oh, so you're having this the people being upset.
Yeah.
But then look at the drugs they have available at, highly addictive drugs we have available at CVS. It's like we're causing all this controversy over marijuana, but then look at what is being available, which is
You want me to launch you to a rant?
morphine.
Because I will launch you to a rant, so please stop me.
Okay, go on.
We love rants. Go ahead.
Okay, so colleges today are rampant with stimulants.
Alcohol too.
Yeah, but alcohol, you can get alcohol anywhere, but the Ivy League universities and a lot of the top colleges, who do you think has the most amount? I don't have no statistics on it, but I feel very strongly that kids today almost feel the need to take stimulant medication. They don't need necessarily to have ADD at all.
Right.
Attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactive disorder. I happen to have ADD, the inattentive type ADD, not ADHD. So yes, I'm on a stimulant medication, but I was diagnosed when I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
So, and I have the paperwork to prove it. Now, a lot of people can just go to a doctor and just say they have ADD or they want whatever medication, and then the doctor will give it to them.
Right.
They're probably under pressure from the prescription companies.
Right.
And they're making money by advocating a certain pill. Now, the people that can't get prescription medication, they have to buy it on the street or in the college, and it's basically like legal meth. Like Adderall is a mix of amphetamine salts. So it's basically they can pay for legal meth.
Yeah.
I mean, and now marijuana, they say it's a gateway drug. What do you think is more of a gateway drug? Amphetamine salts or marijuana that is basically makes you calm?
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my take.
Well, here's a philosophical question for both of you. What is all the? No, that's my cat phone. What exactly is all the fuss about drugs about? And people love to talk about, oh, I got drunk last night, oh, I got this, I got that, I got the other. What's the allure of substances that people abuse? And there's a lot of them. Alcohol, medicines. They'll just, pop pills. They don't even know what they're popping half the time. What's the allure? What excites people about these things?
Probably to escape from their everyday lives, and it's something they have in common with someone else. That's my thing.
Oh, so it's like a group kind of situation where you get together and you're either you want to jump in and get involved in the experience, or you kind of feel like you better because otherwise people. It's like being on Facebook. If you're not there, people may not like you.
And the actual definition of a drug is something which changes your body chemistry. So a vitamin could really be considered a drug, But I think in this sense, I agree with Diana on that. People don't want to deal with, they're not comfortable with themselves. Maybe we do so many things as an addiction, like we eat, we maybe, you can be addicted to so many things. Alcohol, food, sex, drugs.
It's easy to follow the crowd, isn't it?
So it's just if you can't deal with yourself, then you want to escape. So I think it's an escape. It's all an escape. Just because you don't want to deal with, your emotions, your feelings. I mean, who knows? It's just not wanting to be alone with yourself.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
But if you go to therapy, it's like a stigma. People laugh at you like, oh,
Yeah.
You go to therapy if you hate your mother, or they just joke about it, and there's stigma attached to doing any kind of therapy.
According to Sigmund Freud, everything's mom's fault.
Right, and they've done studies, as a massage therapist, I believe we do hold stuff in our bodies, and if we don't want to deal with it, then we get surgery, we pop pills, we drink, we, do anything than having to do the work of wanting to deal with ourselves.
Also, therapy costs more money than going to an actual psychiatrist.
Exactly.
So, some people, whenever I did try to go to therapy, either it wouldn't be fully covered by my insurance company.
Right, yep.
So then I had a specific amount of visits, but then I had to allot most of them for the actual psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I have to pay out of pocket a certain amount for therapist visits.
Right.
So, and then psychiatrists, forbid he actually or she takes time to talk because they have to basically, it's like an assembly line. Okay, next, and it's just prescribing. Obviously, I'm opinionated. So.
Right. No, I completely agree. I think that
what's better, being opinionated or having no opinions on anything?
I don't know. Is ignorance bliss? I thought so.
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I think if your opinions are based on, if you take the time to think, and I have this conversation with a lot of people who I disagree with on politics, that if you take the time to think of something through and have an opinion about it, then you deserve to be listened to. Then you deserve to have the opportunity to share that opinion, even if it's a different opinion. We're all not going to come to the same opinions about anything completely.
Yeah.
So,
No, I think it's true. The whole system's kind of backwards. Things that actually can help people, therapists, massage therapists. I mean, people that want to help people do the work and help them. It's not covered by insurance. People consider it a luxury.
And then people don't even want to go because then they'll be stigmatized, as you said, as going to a therapist.
Right. There's something wrong.
And then that's just going to perpetuate because then they can't go to the therapist, so they're just going to remain sick. So
and just keep taking medication.
Yeah.
I've had patients come to me and they'll go to different psychiatrists being prescribed different medications, and then one doctor's not talking to another, and they don't know if these drugs can be interacting with each other. I mean, you give a patient this, I don't even remember what this stuff was called, but
I could launch into a whole tirade about that.
And then the doctors never even call and check up. How are you doing? They just prescribe these drugs and then they forget about the person, and they could be addicted to them.
And from your dad, and I know from my doctor, Ted Blum, there's constantly a constant line of, I call them drug peddlers because that's my opinion on the matter, but people that are in the doctor's offices for the specific purpose of selling them things to prescribe to their patients, giving them free samples and they'll offer all kinds of perks to the doctors. And I know, I'm sure your dad does the same thing, but my doctor, Ted Blum, basically throws him out because he's an old style family doctor. He does exactly what you complained about doctors and psychiatrists and not doing, taking the time. Take a little time, have a conversation. Listen, get to know the patient's needs, and then help them. You talk about it a lot, Emily. Someone healing themselves. It's really the person that heals themselves, not really the doctor. The doctor's like a coach.
Right, exactly. We all heal ourselves. But I went to the dentist. I have a root canal, and they put you on antibiotics, and then they give you a painkiller, and I'd never really taken a painkiller before, and they give you a month's supply with this major. It was something codeine, and I took one, and because I was in pain, and I woke up the next morning I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. I'm like, I never want to feel that way again. And I asked, I mean, I don't know how people get addicted to this stuff, but if you're not used to it or never experience it, and then you're like, wow, I can't believe the doctor gave me the full prescription.
Not to interrupt, a quick shout out in the studio to our good friend Rich Frascone is coming in to do Who's Telling the Truth. Now you are live on Monday at 7 o'clock?
Live tonight at 7.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody hears that voice in the distance.
It's all about the Gigafactory.
The Gigafactory. Okay, so if
anybody looking for work, looking for a career,
cool.
Tesla's going to build the Gigafactory in Reno, Nevada.
That's the Nevada factory coming in.
How exciting.
Everybody's going to make $25 an hour. Plus benefits.
Wow.
Hey, that's where you want to move. How's everything?
Awesome.
we were scheduled to do a show with one of the proprietors of the new medical marijuana dispensary in Bethel, but we don't have that person here for one reason or another. So we have Diana here, and we're just having a conversation about
marijuana,
medical marijuana, and drugs in particular, psychiatry. You name it, we're going there.
You said it wrong.
Oh.
It's not marijuana.
Oh.
Okay.
What is
MEDI-WANNA.
Oh, marijuana. Marijuana, which would be a compressed version of medical marijuana, kind of.
Isn't that cute, though?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
two birds with one stone.
That's gonna be in Webster's dictionary in a few years. It'll get there. That's a good phrase. You turned a good one there.
Hey, the other day I'm going outside to sunbathe.
Come on, pull up a seat. Join us.
So
which one? Am I gonna
got that great chair over there, and I think we've got enough microphones too.
Well, I should really get my
point I was saying before about these painkillers, how we're handing out, doctors are handing out these major painkillers, and I was driving a car, I was having like an out-of-body experience, and I'm like, wow, there's millions of people out there on these drugs,
I'm probably taking them for the fun of it as recreationally.
Pull over, and
that's pretty
people
crazy.
are functioning like this every day.
That's pretty crazy.
Anyway, so
this is what it is like sunbathing.
Yeah,
kind of. Pull it a little closer. We want to get you into the picture.
Nothing to do with medical marijuana.
Yeah, come on, compress yourself in.
Well, let me just throw this in, then let me do what I got to do.
Okay.
So I'm going out to sunbathe, and I turned to my wife. And I said, inadvertently, I'm going to go solarize. But it's, because solarized Brookfield, and it's just, and it's an expression now. And hopefully it'll catch on, and people say,
we should make T-shirts made up. I'm going to go solarize.
I'm going solar.
Sunlight's actually very healthy. It gives you vitamin D.
Vitamin D fights depression.
Well, see, that's what I used to say. I used to say to my wife, I'm going out to get my share of vitamin D.
Yeah. We should. That's probably why a lot of people are depressed.
Now, for people like me that are more sun sensitive, like I have to do it in small quantities.
Yes, in
small quantities. But you're absolutely right, both of you, that's a really healthy.
Come in for
a little closer.
All right, there you go.
From a health standpoint,
right?
There you go.
What would be even more beneficial is if you were like at the ocean, where you're going to get the ionic activity of the air. What's ionic activity?
I'm
glad you asked me.
Right, and salt.
All right. Everybody in unison.
What's
ionic activity?
I have salt crystals in my massage room, so it's with the salt.
Did you ever notice when you take a shower you feel better? You ever wonder why?
No, why?
Because you're clean.
Well, a lot of people say, well, I'm clean,
right.
I'm cool or whatever. What happens is when water falls, it creates friction.
Yep.
The friction of that falling water spins off the ions.
Yeah, so it's like mist, what we would call mist.
So the ions get ripped away, the oxygen molecule, the ions get ripped off of them.
Okay.
And the ions become unpaired radicals.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, if there's one thing an ion hates, it's being an unpaired radical.
That's
They
right.
team up.
So what it does is it goes for another ion to pair with it. And in the process of the two ions repairing, whatever they come in contact with, they virtually destroy. If it's another cell, it'll just bust up the cell membrane. So what happens is when you're taking a shower, you're breathing in this energy-rich air.
Yeah.
And it gets into your bloodstream, and it starts looking for things. What is it going to pair with? And that's why a lot of people like Elon Musk, we're going to talk about him in tonight's show.
Okay.
Somebody said, where do you get all your ideas? He goes, I get it. I get my ideas when I take a shower.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because a lot of people get... And one of the best designers, this real fruitcake. I mean, this guy, he goes, I take a shower and the ideas pop into my head. And you look at and you go, wow.
Is that why bath salts made people crazy? Like, cause
bath salt?
Yeah, like wasn't there this big thing about how bath salts kind of made people go crazy and all this stuff. Like, you know, if showers do that, then if, you know, their skin is basically a hotbed of activity, and if you put salt or some weird substance on it, then and it's more readily absorbed in your skin, so then it's more likely to make you crazy. I don't know.
What you're thinking here? I got the munchies?
Ionic activity comes from, don't forget, you know, when you're at the seashore, when you're at a waterfall.
Right, yeah.
That's why when people go to waterfalls, they say, I feel so invigorated.
Yeah.
You know?
I have these salt rock crystals in my massage room. I don't know if, anyway,
I think I remember,
they say it ionizes the air. It has to do with the salt, maybe. I don't know how, but everyone tells me it ionizes or cleans the air, and it might have to do with that whole.
So it sounds like an ionizer is something that grabs onto something, whether it's got air going through it and it's got something inside.
Ionizer, the best ionizers is something natural, which is water, or falling water. That's why in the desert where it's so dry, you know, people go, you know, they get stir crazy because there's no, you know, they're lacking all that energy-rich stuff. You know, it's just the bad stuff, the bad shit. But guys, I got to get ready for the show.
All right,
okay.
Great.
Thanks for inviting me over. And you know
no problem.
And a quick shout out to Kristen, because Kristen gave me a bunch of questions that we'll get to eventually. When we have our guests that we had planned to have come on. Kristen's questions are ready for her. So where were we?
I was talking about how the dentist gives out, you know, these pain-killing drugs that are highly addictive, and you know, like, it's not even really knowing if I'm this addictive person. I asked my dad, like, how do you know who you can prescribe these drugs to? But that has nothing to do with marijuana, so.
I know, I was just wondering how we got.
No, I know.
I understand. You know, we were talking about just the general notion of what draws people into addiction.
And, you know
what draws people to want to, especially binge on stuff like alcohol or
marijuana,
pills or whatever.
Well, I mean, you know, like, how do you'd have to first define addictiveness, like, you know, what makes you addictive? Like, you know, if it's marijuana, then maybe you are addicted in one sense, but not technically according to the dictionary. I don't know, like.
More psychologically than physically.
Physically,
I think some people have more of a addictive personality than others, and why marijuana, I don't know. I mean, I'm not addicted to it, so I don't know what would cause somebody to. Maybe it makes them feel better.
It probably is kind of hard for somebody that doesn't have a predisposition towards anything in particular, whether it be, you know, alcohol or pills or whatever, to understand. And you know, I don't know. Do you know why? What makes? Okay, garçon. Okay. Our waiter is telling us that the table's waiting for the next group. So we're gonna have to call it a show. This is Progressive Soup. I'm David Stevenson, Emily Volpintesta, co-host, and Diana Frank, who has been our very able guest in this wonderful conversation. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.